have a terrific Minnesota program coming your way. As in studio today, we have with us, talking about Memorial Day, John McDonough, who is the commander of the Central Veterans Association, Glen Wegner, who is the commander of the Faribault American Legion. They are both in studio today, and we're looking forward to visiting with them about Memorial Day observances 1 week from today. Thanks, gentlemen, for coming in.
Thanks for having us, Corey.
Appreciate it very much. Well, I guess I'll start by saying that we have observed Memorial Day in Faribault since Civil War times. Isn't that amazing?
Yes. This is my first year putting it together, so we don't really know what's going to happen yet. We've got 3 people we're going to honor. Jim Munson is our combat vet. He served in Vietnam, taught at the vocational school and just retired. Lyle Spitzak is our honored veteran. Lyle had a little medical emergency here a couple of weeks ago. He's up in Pleasant Manor. Hopefully his wife thought he might be home in time for the Veterans Day Parade, or Memorial Day Parade. If not, we're going to try and get him in the parade anyhow. Chris Trebelhorn's going to be our Grand Marshal. We were hoping he could be here with us today, but he had some other commitments, he couldn't make it.
Maybe you could explain what the Central Veterans Association is.
It's made up of American Legion members, the VFW members, and Sons of the American Legion members. And our biggest function is to honor veterans at funerals. We go out with a 3-shot volley and then a bugler that plays taps.
And you do a lot of those these days, I would guess.
Glenn, do you have a number on them?
Not exactly, but it's probably 2 or 3 already this month of May. I know April, again, we had about 4. Throughout, since January, we've had a fair amount of veterans, not all necessarily members of the American Legion, but if they're a veteran, we will do a service for them.
That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All the veterans.
If the family requests it, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's sometimes the family doesn't. For example, my dad was a World War II veteran, and he didn't want any of that stuff. He didn't even have the flag draped over his coffin. Mom got the flag, but it wasn't, part of his service. Yeah. Even though he was proud of his service, he didn't feel that he was worthy of that sort of thing.
Right. And we'll get a call, as we did last Saturday. It wasn't in the obituary in the paper or anything, and then we got a phone call later on. The family decided that they wanted to have a graveside service with the color guard or the honor guard folks, and so we did it. And it gets kind of short notice sometime, but we've got a pretty good group of folks that we can draw from, and it works out really well.
Well, I will say it adds a lot too, because I went to my uncle's funeral here a little over a month ago, and the military was involved there, and it just really adds class to the whole event.
It does, and the people that go that aren't familiar with what some of the things that we do for funerals really are impressed with it. And I was just talking to a gentleman this morning. He said, well, do you give the brass to the family once you've fired the weapons? And I says, yes, at the end of the service, we give the brass to the family.
Post Frame Construction, and to their website, northlandbuildings.com. Again, on our AM Minnesota program today, we are visiting with a couple of gentlemen here who are involved in Memorial Day observances 1 week from today. John McDonough is the commander of the Central Veterans Association. We have another commander here too, Glen Wegner from the Faribault American Legion. We appreciate they've taken time out of their busy schedule to enlighten us about what's happening on Memorial Day, which is 1 week from today. 1 week from today. So Glenn, have you been involved quite a bit in these observances over the years?
I have, mostly with the color guard and honor guard folks go up to the courthouse. One year I was the chaplain and did some of the prayers for the 3 different locations when Mr. Quinlan was the commander of the Central Vets. So yes, it's been fun. It's interesting to work with these people, and it's great. It's a great time.
How long have you been commander of the Legion?
I'm just finishing up my year, and I'll be done now come in June. And Mr. Laverne Malika will be taking over for the next year as the commander of the American Legion Post 43 in Faribault.
So John, I'm going to ask you how these individuals are selected, the honored combat veteran and honored veteran. How are they selected?
Well, we have a meeting of the Central Vets every month and throw names around, and it's just members of the Central Vets just go out and find them. It's people that they know or that they work with. Jim Munson was an instructor at the vocational school. He taught the carpentry class, and one of our members was in one of his classes, and decided to ask him if he'd do the honors, and he said he would.
I mean, so many people are deserving of this honor, and I'm sure you get a lot of names suggested, but you probably wouldn't mind getting some other names suggested too, right, from the general public?
Yeah, we always need more names. We get a lot of guys that'll just look at you and say, I'm no hero, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But the ones that are willing to do it, we'd sure like to have you in future years.
Now, I was told there was a period of time there where you were having trouble getting a combat veteran. But
yeah.
obviously you have one.
We got one now, because there was, a lot of years where there was no combat going on. We're losing most of our World War II vets. I look at this list of veterans that's on this program, and we're well over 100 that have passed away in the last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are World War II vets. Jim's a Vietnam vet. Last year we had Fred Vogel. He retired out of the Air Force. His 2 grandsons were both Iraqi. I think one was an Iraq vet and the other one was Afghanistan, if I remember right. So we had a good deal there.
Yeah.
We're hoping to get more guys, more younger people.
So you were in the Air Force, John?
Yeah. I was in during Vietnam, but I never made Vietnam. I was in Japan. We had a squadron of C-130s that flew into Vietnam, and when they came back, we fixed them.
Oh, you worked on mechanical end of things.
Well, I was actually in supply. I ordered parts for them.
Oh, okay. That'd be kind of a fun job. I mean, you knew you weren't going to be involved in combat then, right?
Well, there was no combat there in Japan, and if they ordered a part on the flight line and got it, my section didn't hear about it. It was when they didn't get it that we went to work.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because
how long did you serve, John?
Just short of 4 years. I was in California for 2 years and then Japan for 18 months.
And I know you've got family members that are now in the service.
My son will have 10 years in the Navy in August. He just re-enlisted again. He's going to shoot for 20. He's on active duty out in Virginia Beach.
Sometimes do you wish you would have stayed in the military and gone for 20?
Yeah. I would have retired at 39, as my son will.
Yep, my uncle did that.
Mm-hmm. But when they were trying to talk me into re-enlisting, they said, are you going to give up 4 years experience? And I said, well, I got 19 years experience as a civilian to fall back on. I think I'll try it.
My uncle worked on the planes. He was in the Air Force, worked on it, mechanic, And so when he retired from the military, he worked at Stapleton International Airport in Denver on the airplanes. So pretty nice job there.
A lot of people that I was in service with went to work for the airlines, especially the ones that were in communications, navigation and stuff like that. They had a job with the airlines the day they got out.
So the military can get you a pretty nice occupation. They give you all the training, right? All the hands-on training.
The field that I was in wasn't that big. I should have gone into mechanical, but I didn't. I went into administrative and wound up with a desk job. The mechanical fields, the re-enlistment bonuses were better, and there was more opportunities on the outside.
So John, let's get a little of your military history. I mean, Glenn.
Yes, I put 40 years in the Army Reserve program, with most of my time in the reserve program, with some short tours during Desert Storm and a couple other tours that I was able to do, mostly stateside. Enjoyed my career as a warrant officer in the Army Reserve program. We got to travel a fair amount of time for our annual trainings and things like that. Ended up in Germany 5 times, ended up in Korea once, and Italy once. So got to get around the country and see some things and enjoy some of the other cultures, and totally enjoyed Germany. That was great. I enjoyed that. So
yeah, I did too when I visited there.
yes.
I think I would have fit in perfectly. And of course, my grandfather came over from Germany.
Yes.
So
yes.
I kind of looked like one of them when I was walking down the street.
So
I enjoyed that as
yeah.
well. Do you have any sons or daughters in the military?
I do not. No. No. So.
Any brothers, sisters that went into the military?
No, I was pretty much the only one from our family. Not even any one. My one uncle was in the military. I never really knew about it because some of your older folks didn't talk about the military. My father-in-law was another one that was in the military, in the Army, but they didn't talk about it all that much. So you didn't hear about it until they passed away or later in life when they would start to talk about it again.
Yeah. I always tell the story that I never even knew my dad was a disabled American vet till I saw his card and his billfold after he passed away.
Yes.
And I asked my mom about it.
You're right.
I mean, I knew he had been injured while doing a training exercise over in France where he was stationed, but I didn't know that he had received a pension all those years for being injured.
Probably just wanted to put it behind him and forget about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would say.
Right.
Again, John McDonough is the commander of the Central Veterans Association. Glen Wegner is the commander of the Faribault American Legion. How many members are there in the Legion now? Do you know, Glenn?
Yes. Our quota right now is about 491 strong. We're just shy of that, meeting our 100% goal. I think we're about 3 or 4. We went to a 3rd district, which we are part of, convention in Forest Lake over the weekend, and there were about probably 12 to 15 posts, Legion posts, that were at 100%. So we're still striving. We have, I think, until June, or July, excuse me, to make that. So our membership director is still working on it to get some new members, and if there's some out there that are totally interested, why, you know, stop down to the club, pick up a reservation or a form, fill it out, and we'll be happy to entertain. We're always looking for board members, people to work at the Legion for the different functions that we have, events that we have, and it's a great place to meet and visit with different veterans.
Now, we're very fortunate to have that facility here in Faribault. I don't know what the town would do in terms of wedding receptions or big banquets, because really it's the place to have that sort of thing.
It is, yes, and we are pretty busy throughout the season with weddings. We have a lot of events for businesses, different things like that. Of course, the Vietnam Wall will be coming to Faribault this fall.
That's right. Over
Labor Day weekend, and that's a big event, and we have a lot of we're co-sponsoring it with the Elks Club in Faribault, and we're doing a lot of promotions to make the monies to pay for that wall to come here. So I hope the people will enjoy it and come out and visit that also when it's here in Faribault.
Oh, I think we'll have pretty good crowds. I don't think there's any question. In fact, I would guess, John, that some folks come down from the metropolitan area. We're close enough.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Anybody that hasn't seen the wall or that knows somebody that's on it, I have a good friend that his name was Tom Eastman. It's been 50 years since he lost his life on May 5th. I've been to the wall twice out in Washington, D.C., and I saw the portable up at Fort Snelling. That was back 15 years ago, I guess, and it's pretty humbling. It really makes you stop and think when you stand at the end of it and look down it and just think 58,000 people that are on the wall, and there's probably another, nobody knows how many, that have died since then due to PTSD or injuries they received in Vietnam.
Agent Orange.
Yeah. Yeah, I can name half a dozen people that died from Agent Orange. But we're going to have an honor guard there 24/7 all the time it's here, composed of the Central Vets, probably the color guard, and we'll probably get honor guards from neighboring cities. They
Sure.
like to participate too.
Well, I mean, that's required, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, they require that it be guarded 24/7.
And lit, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The area has to be
Yes.
lit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna, because I've never seen the one in Washington, D.C. Have you?
I have, yes, and it, like John said, it is humbling. Also, the other walls there, if you have the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C., the Korean one is beautiful. I believe that piece of granite came from Pipestone, Minnesota, out there. And some of the other, of course, changing the guard is always a big thing to go to, and to see some of the other soldiers that are buried there, Joe DiMaggio and a few of those people, to go see their graves. Kennedy's, of course, they have a huge display out there.
That's at Arlington.
That's at Arlington Cemetery, yep. But that's very interesting. I've been there a couple different times, yes.
The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, to watch the guards and the precision that they have, and then the changing of the guard. That's very impressive ceremony.
Is that done 24 hours a day?
Yes.
24 hours a day. They're not required to guard it in a severe storm, but they've never failed to not guard it. No matter what the weather is, those guys get out there.
Even in severe weather, you're saying?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not required to.
They're not required to, but they do it anyway.
Well, when you think about it, these soldiers fought in any kind of weather,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's why when we march in a parade in a hot day and everybody's complaining about it, somebody will say it's still cooler than it was in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and well, it's muggy there and swampy, right?
Yeah, so they tell me.
Lots of skeeters and bugs, I would guess. So let's get back to Memorial Day observances 1 week from today. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this starts at 9 in the morning with an observance on the north lawn of the courthouse, right?
Right, 9 o'clock at the courthouse, then the parade starts at 10 o'clock down by the library. And the ceremony in Central Park is approximately 15 minutes after the parade is over. I'd also like to mention that Deacon Cassandra Corey from the Cathedral of the Merciful Savior is going to be doing the invocations for us at both places. And of course, Gordy Costello is going to be our MC at that.
I feel very honored that you guys asked me to even do that.
Well, well, thank you in advance.
Yeah, no, it's very humbling to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoy the observance. We know the impact of the observance. What does Memorial Day mean to you, Glenn?
To honor our fallen veterans. That's basically what I look at it as. We, read the names of those folks that have passed away during the past year, and I've been involved with the honor guard, which goes to a lot of these funerals, and it's very, you know, some of these people that you present the flag to, you know. Sometimes it's a little tough to
Yeah, I suppose.
to do the presentation too. So yeah, it's totally enjoyable. Really is.
How about you, John? What does Memorial Day mean to you?
Well, as Glenn said, the fallen vets, like Tom Eastman, and think of him. A lot of other guys that I wasn't that close to, but that have lost their lives in wars, and of course the World War II veterans that we're losing on a daily basis now. I should mention too that after the ceremony at the American Legion, everybody's invited to lunch after the ceremony at Central Park. Then we go to Shieldsville to the memorial out there at 1 o'clock. They have a ceremony too. And then after that we go to the Shieldsville Cemetery at about 1:45. So we have a fairly busy day on Memorial Day.
Yes, you do. Very awesome memorial out in Shieldsville too.
Yes, that was all made by volunteers. They went out and sold sweatshirts and raised money. Mike Fitzpatrick's in charge of it. We need to thank him. He always provides our PA system for the courthouse too. So we couldn't pull that one off without Mike. He's
No, Mike's
there
a
on
good guy.
Memorial Day and Veterans Day.
Mike's a great guy.
I'd also like to ask for people to join our Central Vets. We're a little bit short-handed at these funerals. And I'm not the youngest guy there, but we don't have any actually young people in the honor guard, and we could use a lot of younger guys. I know they're all got jobs, so they can't make the funerals during the week, but we sure could use some more help. And also Lyle Spitzak, who we're honoring, he's up at Pleasant Manor, and I'm sure he would enjoy some company if anybody's. When I talked to Betty last night, he said that he'd really like to have some company up there. So.
Well, there you go, folks. Go on up and say hi to Lyle. Thank him for his service. He'll be there on Monday, right?
Yes, if he feels good enough, he will. He served in Korea, so he's. We hope to have him there in the parade, and Betty's going to ride with him. So.
It's a pretty busy day. We've been asked to go up to the Milestone Nursing Home for a little presentation on Friday. This coming Friday, we're going to be at the blind school. They've asked us to come up and do a flag ceremony for them. Also, Monday afternoon, we'll be going out with some people to Faribault Senior Living out there by the old Kmart store. So we get invited to go to quite a few different rest homes, things like that. On Veterans Day, we get invited into a lot of the schools, of course. But
I think virtually all the nursing homes in town now have a wall of honor of veterans.
Yes.
Which is probably long overdue.
Yeah, there's a lot of people up there that have served, and we try and get to all of them on Veterans Day if we can. We split up 2 or 3 guys, go to each school or nursing home.
And I know, isn't the Sons of the American Legion put the flags out, right?
Yes, in the cemeteries now. I do the one out in Shieldsville, set them out. And then I'm on the cemetery board out there, and Clarence Harriman used to do it years ago, and then he had a stroke quite a few years ago, and he asked me to do it.
Oh, okay, so that's cool.
I've been putting them out.
Any idea how many you put out?
It's got to be close to 100.
In Shieldsville?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just in the one cemetery, so
That's
throughout the
simply in
county.
Shieldsville. Now the Grand Marshal,
Again.
yes,
Grand Marshal of the program, that's Chris Treblehorn, right?
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Chris?
Yes, I can do that. Chris has been deployed at least twice, once during Saudi Arabia, which had been quite a while ago, and then again to Afghanistan. And so I talked to him and asked him if he'd be interested, because they were looking for somebody to be Grand Marshal. And I thought, well, and I know there's probably some folks around, like you mentioned earlier, that have participated and maybe have 3 deployments or more. But Chris was on board. He worked for me for a while when I was employed before I retired. And so I asked him if he'd be interested, and he said, well, you know, he'd think about it. So I had to do a little arm twisting, but we got him to go, and so it would be a good. He's involved with the Boy Scouts here in Faribault. A couple of his sons have gained the Eagle Scout awards, and so Chris is involved with a lot of community things throughout. And he actually belongs as a member here of Post 43 in Faribault. So that was another reason. As long as he was a member, we would decided to invite him to be our Grand Marshal.
Well, that's pretty cool. Grand Marshal of the Memorial Day.
I think Chris has been in the Army since 1982.
Okay.
So he's still in the reserves then?
No, he's not. He's a bit, gotten out of probably 3 or 4 years ago now.
Okay. All right. And did we visit about Lyle Spitzak? Only got a little less than a minute.
Lyle served in Korea in 51 and 52, I believe.
And he, of course, is the honored veteran. So there's an honored combat veteran, an honored veteran, and a Grand Marshal. Thanks, John. I appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having us, Gordy.
The head of the Central Veterans Association, the commander, and Glen Wegner, the commander of the American Legion, at least for another, what, 2 months? Is that what you said?
About that, yes.
That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota. By the way, on Wednesday we'll have some Kenyan folks in studio talking about their Memorial Day observances as they're adding on to their memorial there in Kenyan. You're in tune to KDHLAM, Faribault, Minnesota.